Thank you for listening to the BJJBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the BJJBrick Podcast. This is episode 314. My name is Byron. I'm here with my good buddy Joe. Joe, we're here again this week. We're missing our friend Gary. He'll be back next week, and we're happy to get the Three Musketeers back in order. But I'm excited for the show, Joe. We have Nikki Sullivan on the podcast for an interview this week, and Nikki's a black belt under Andriod and really done some amazing things on the mats, and she shares a lot of her story and really opens up and shares some struggles that she's had. And you know, we all experience like some self-doubt and those sort of things, but man, we're all human. Even, you know, Nikki seems like, man, she's amazing and she's awesome, but we're all human, and sometimes it's hard to see that when you just look on the kind of the outside of somebody's performances. But Nikki is really gracious with sharing a lot, and it really, I don't know, I think it's gone a lot of the idea that, you know, like a black belt is, you know, perfect or that sort of thing. But I remember back in my day, the black belt was, I don't know, it took me a couple years to meet a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but that was jiu-jitsu. That person was perfect. They knew whatever. And I think that's kind of faded as more and more people become black belts, and they don't portray that. You know, we're always learning, that we could always improve. And if you can improve as a black belt, you're clearly not the best ever, as far as you're not even better than you are going to be tomorrow. Anyway, I'm getting a little off things. Nikki shares some really amazing stuff, and it really kind of humanizes what it is to be an Atos black belt, which is a phenomenal thing. You know, she's a black belt under arguably one of the best grapplers ever, and really excited to bring her here today.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear other people's stories and how their journeys progressed. I'm sure she went through a lot of different phases in her training, tried different things that brought her to where she is now. One thing you can do is get Byron's audiobook, 6 Games for BJJ. That will definitely help you along in your journey. He outlines 6 different games you can play, an example of which would be the Nike method, where you just you get on the mat session, you try not to hesitate, you go for a submission even if you know that you don't have the perfect opportunity, even if you know your opponent's got good defense, you're just going to go for it. When that doesn't work, you're just going to go for the next. He's got 6 games that will help you get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Byron, where can they find a link for that audiobook?
Yep, you're going to go to the show notes or just BjjBrick.com and scroll down a little bit. It's attached to every episode. Click that little picture there, and you go right over there. You're going to love it because it's going to help you with your jiu-jitsu and help you explore your own game and get better at things you're already good at. And guys, I have the off-the-mat lesson this week. Recently, I was invited by some friend Matt, a guy grappling here. His wife was looking for somebody to speak with a group of people that she works with at Wichita State University here. And so his wife called me, and we chatted about, you know, talking, and she kind of liked the idea that I'm coming from a different place, you know, jiu-jitsu, coaching, and that sort of thing, and they're more of a teaching environment, and just kind of wanted a little bit of a different angle on things. And it was a great time talking with those people from WSU, and I learned a lot, and I hope they learned a little bit at least. So I hope, you know, hopefully they enjoyed it, and be happy to do that anytime. Anyway, after it was all over, and it was mentioned that, you know, I train, and we have this podcast here, and one of the guys came up to me and said he trains jiu-jitsu as well, and he's been training for a few years, and that's great, that's awesome. And we started chatting, and he said that when do you start learning concepts opposed to just like techniques? I was like, that's a really good question, because in the example he had was a sweep. Like the technique of the sweep is, you know, you're going to hold this arm here, you're going to pull their weight over here, you're going to lift the legs over here, and they're going to fall over. But really the concept is about controlling their ability to post, off balancing them, and these sort of things. And I when he said it, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. At some point in time, you stop doing a particular sweep, and you start just working to get on top, whichever avenue happens to work for you. And I think that's right in a lot of things. And you do need the first step. You do need to learn the sweeps because they work a certain way, and they're designed to sweep somebody over. But if you could learn it and spend some time and get good at the sweep, at some point in time you're able to play within the rules of the sweep and kind of tweak things, because people in jiu-jitsu, this isn't hopefully a surprise, they don't just let you sweep them. They fight pretty hard, and you're going to have to deal with that. And so just the same sweep every time may not work on everybody, and we have different bodies as well. So being able to learn the fundamentals and toy around with these concepts and still try to get somebody off balance or get their weight in a tricky spot where they can't save themselves from getting knocked over. I really like the idea, and it happens with anything. If you want to be a great artist, you start by drawing that circle and you shade it to make it a sphere, or you draw some symmetrical thing. Eventually, you're creating something that's your own. Same thing in jiu-jitsu. You've got to learn how to draw, how to shade, how to mix colors or whatever you're doing first. And once you're good at that, then you can start to work. And you've got to learn those basics. So I think that people in jiu-jitsu get a little excited sometimes. We get online, we start watching these millions of techniques that are out there that are really fancy, and we're trying to blend some crazy color of paint, and we don't even know what shade it should be. So it's just something that somebody pulled me aside and asked me a question kind of about jiu-jitsu and concepts, and I love that, so I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, that's great. Sometimes it's almost like the higher level of competition you're watching, almost the harder it is to pick out sequences and techniques because it's happening fast. And like you said, they're not playing one technique after another. They're playing the fundamentals, and they're working to off-balance their opponents and remove their base and expose their neck. And it just happens fluidly, and sometimes, it doesn't look like the jiu-jitsu I do much.
Yeah, you see Nikki Sullivan.
It's a few levels above.
Yeah, you see Nikki Sullivan land a rear naked choke on another black belt. It's like, oh, okay, I know that choke. Well, actually, there was a lot going on there that you didn't. Like, for sure. There was a couple of avenues that she might have gone otherwise, or a reason why she got the neck exposed the way she did. There's a lot of things happening, and if you taught somebody that rear naked choke and gave that same person, a brand new person, that person's back who Nikki choked out, it's not going to work because there's so many sub elements happening. But you got to learn the color wheel before you learn how to paint. You got to learn the basics in jiu-jitsu before you could apply them like Nikki.
Man, that was a great off the mat lesson, Byron.
So
it plays right into the quote that you brought as well.
Oh, good. What's the? Because I feel bad because I had the off the mat lesson. So you bring the quote in.
Yeah, it plays right into it. It's very similar, at least the way I read it. A good firefighter knows how. An educated firefighter knows why. And that's by Chris Walker. And I think, Byron, you were sharing with me a little bit your thoughts on it. I might be a little bit different direction. I think they both make sense, though. And the way I looked at it is you can show somebody how to do like a head and arm choke, and then they can repeat it position. You showed them how with some success. But if they don't understand why the person's getting choked, if they don't understand that it's my bicep on one side of their neck and their bicep / shoulder on the other side of their neck, if they don't understand that mechanism, they don't know why the opponent's going out, they're stuck only following steps A, B, and C from position A. That's the only way they can finish it. But once they understand why, then I could land that from side control. I could land that from half guard. I could land it from a number of positions, or I could approach it from a different direction, and it becomes like a darce. Once they understand the mechanism, the why, they're much than just understanding the how. Step 1, 2, and 3. That was my take, brother.
Yeah, that's good, and I appreciate you tackling the fire quote. I'm bringing in a couple of fire quotes. I had one last week, and I have another one this week. So, but a good firefighter knows how. So to just quickly put this back on the fire grounds, there's a million examples, but a lot of times if there's a house that's on fire, what a firefighter will do is get on the roof and they'll cut a hole in the roof, and then they'll poke something down and break the sheetrock, and then the smoke will go through that hole through the attic and out of the structure, and that's a great job, but knowing why you do this is also very important, and you're creating a better environment of air in the building or the house. If you're able to lift that smoke up, it makes it more visible. It makes it more tenable for any occupants that could be trapped in there. It makes firefighting efforts go a little more smoothly. It greatly reduces the chances of like a backdraft or a smoke explosion or these sort of things. But knowing why is important, because there's situations that look like it's a good spot to do this or a good place, but it's not a good time. Maybe the roof is starting to sag in a little bit. Maybe it's a known, verified, vacant structure that's locked up, and you shouldn't be on the roof anyway. There's a few things that you should know why you're doing it, and if it's not appropriate to do, you wouldn't even think about it. But just because you know how to do it doesn't mean you know why. And same thing with jiu-jitsu. Why are you getting the sweep? Well, because I want to get on top. So if you want to work on your guard and you're sweeping everybody, maybe that's great. That's a part of your guard. But if you want to work on like a submission, it is funny to watch somebody who's like, I'm working on my triangle chokes, and then you spend the next minute trying to sweep me. Like, you're not working your triangle chokes. You want to get on top of me. Why are you trying to sweep me? Oh, because that's what you do in jiu-jitsu. You sweep. No, you just clearly stated you want to work on a particular part of your game. So know your why and also know how. They're both very important.
Yeah, and I think you sort of touched on know why you are training. You're not training to win. You're training to learn. And once you understand that, then you'll stay on bottom more if you're working on that triangle.
Yeah, if you're why are you in the training room? Like you step on the competition day, you're hoping to win and to perform at your absolute best. Whether you learn anything or not, which all things go well, you'll learn something as well. But training day, you come in to roll and to be with your team. You should be there to learn. So yeah, that's a good why. Why are you there training with your teammates? It's to get better at jiu-jitsu. It's not to beat your teammates. I like that one, Joe. That's a better explanation than when I had time to think about mine. You just popped that out of there, so that's nice.
It was all good, man. Iron sharpens iron.
But also, what else sharpens iron, Joe?
A leather strap, a stone wheel. Yep, you're right.
Yep, that's your thing as well. Like, yeah, it's not always just iron that makes things better. Anyway, let's get with the interview with Nikki Sullivan. He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
In an effort to blend traditional martial arts with BJJ, he was successful in breaking 5 cinder blocks with his triangle choke. He put Frankie Valli in a triangle, and he screamed for Sherry Baby. In an effort to fight crime, he likes to check in on Facebook when he is in a bad neighborhood.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJBrick Podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm excited to bring Nikki Sullivan to the BJJBrick Podcast. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hey, we're excited to have you here and learn a little bit about you and from you as well. Nikki, could you just introduce yourself, like who you are on the mat and a little bit maybe off the mat as well?
Yeah, my name is Nikki Sullivan. I am 30 years old. I train currently at Atos HQ in San Diego, California. And outside of that, I do a lot of writing for a couple different websites. And, I travel and I teach, I help teach the women's class at Atos as well. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing right now.
Cool. What websites do you write for?
So I write for Belt to Belt. So it's Belt number 2 Belt. And it's a website run by my friend Kayla Patterson. and she puts out a newsletter every Monday. Sorry, I'm having trouble remembering words, so I'll get better.
That's okay.
She puts out a newsletter every Monday, and so if you're interested in like reading some of my writing about Jiu-Jitsu, and she also puts out news about Jiu-Jitsu and just different tips and some health advice and things like that in every newsletter, and they're really nice. It's called the Morning Roll every Monday, so you can go to their website, belttobelt.com, and sign up for that. So write for them, and then I write a little bit for Yoga for BJJ as well.
Wow,
their blog.
That's cool. How long has that been going on for the Belt to Belt or yoga? Is that fairly new, or have you been doing that for quite a while?
I actually used to write for BJJ Tees, and that started a couple years ago. I started writing articles for them, and then they kind of stopped putting out content, but I started writing for Belt to Belt in, I think, November of last year. And then the Yoga for BJJ thing was pretty recent. They put out my first article last month.
Cool. Well, we'll look for you there, and I'll put links to both those in the show notes.
Thank you.
So what got you started in jiu-jitsu?
So I actually started in college, and I went to Indiana University, which is in Bloomington, Indiana. And what a lot of people don't know about IU is that they have a really huge martial arts program. And you can take like at least 10 different disciplines of martial arts, like Taekwondo, and you can take Judo, and you know Kali, and stick fighting, and Jeet Kune Do, and all this stuff. And I actually took Taekwondo my freshman year, and then I kind of didn't continue with it. I just wasn't really what I wanted to do long term. But my senior year in college, I took a class for credit in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and just fell in love with it. And so then I joined the university club that met, at night, and just got really super excited about Jiu-Jitsu, and I joined a gym. And so then after I graduated, because this is right before I graduated, so after I graduated, I just stuck around for a while and kept training, and just like, this is what I want to do.
So you got started with a class for credit for college. What was that? What was that like? Was it a lot of mat time, or a lot of discussion, or just teaching techniques? What happened in that class?
Yeah, it was like maybe a shortened version of a normal jiu-jitsu class to do. I think it was around an hour. So my first instructor, Evan Mainweiler, he's actually a very good friend of mine to this day. He lives in Chicago, but he would usually just start out the class. We'd learn a couple techniques, and in the beginning we weren't doing any sparring because we didn't know anything. But then I think on my first day we learned how to do a rear naked choke, and that was very exciting. We learned how to choke somebody out, and then we learned like a hip toss the next day, and we learned a lot of basics. But by the end of the semester, I think we met 3 days a week. By the end of the semester, we were sparring more in class, and they really encourage people to go to the club or to do other training outside of the class, because it's not enough time to grow. So a lot of people would like do other things outside of the class too to supplement that training.
That's a cool way to start, and it's just shows the opportunity that's out there for people who, if you could start a club or start a class at a university, you might expose that to people who would never think to sign up for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I have other friends actually that have gone to universities and started clubs, or like tried to help grow clubs at other colleges. It's great because for me it was super cheap. I think I was paying $40 a semester to train there.
That's awesome.
And it's just a neat way to meet people and kind of have a productive group of friends within that environment. And you get a lot of academic-minded people in that environment.
Yeah. Do you remember if you got like a grade, or how that was given?
Yeah, I did. I got a grade, but I think, well, I don't know if I should share this or not, but I will. But he told us on the first day, he was like, look, there are 2 days that you really have to be here. Like, one of the days, I think, was one of the first days of class, and one was the last day where we do the evaluations and like kind of have to turn something physical in. But he was like, other than that, I really don't care if you are here or not. I don't want you to come if you don't want to be here. Like, you chose to take this class, so I'm going to give everybody an A. Show up if you want, and, you know, otherwise don't waste our time. But yeah, so he basically, you know, told people that they would get an A if you want. I got an A+.
Yeah, there you go.
For the record, I don't think I missed any days, and I was very gung-ho about it. But yeah.
Well, that's interesting. What he did with that, and the way I see that, it's not him being, you know, I don't know, lazy as an instructor or just generous. He was in reality controlling the culture of that room, and if you didn't want to be there, he didn't want you there. And if you wanted to be there and you wanted to train, it's instant. Weeds everybody out who's got a negative attitude about coming and trying to just pass a class, and he gets people who are actually interested in wanting to learn jiu-jitsu to show up.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I was like,
I could just imagine the average college course that I took if they said that at the beginning of the class. That would have been a different road for me. But so that was kind of the start to your jiu-jitsu. When did you end up moving, or when did you take jiu-jitsu to the next level and make it a more serious pursuit?
Yeah, so I trained in the Midwest for a while, and I still live there, and I worked. So my degree is in education and elementary education, and I worked in a few elementary schools, and I was a preschool teacher for a couple of years while still training at the same time. And so over that time, I think I started training in 2009, and in 2013, I did my first big competition. My first big competition was a Chicago Open. Like, that was my first IBJJF tournament. But then a buddy of mine that I trained with decided to go to California to do the Abu Dhabi trials. At the time, they had trials for the Abu Dhabi Pro. Now they do it on more of a points system. But at the time, you could go to this tournament, and then if you placed, you could do the absolute. And if you won your absolute, you would get a free ticket to go to Abu Dhabi and compete in the Abu Dhabi Pro in April. So this was in, I think, August, maybe, that we went to California and we did these trials. And I was kind of like, okay, yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun. And we'll go to California. And I ended up winning as a blue belt, my absolute, and getting a ticket. And at the time, I was kind of like, is this a real thing? Like, I didn't really know a whole lot about jiu-jitsu at that level at the time. But I won the ticket, and so they paid for everything. They paid for me to fly there. They paid for the hotel, transportation. Like, everything was covered for this trip. And that was really exciting for me. And I think other people who knew more than I did were really excited for me, which made me feel like, oh, this is kind of a big deal. And then that was the point where I started to think, you know, I could do this. Like, maybe this is something that I could be good at. And so I started trying to challenge myself more and more with competitions, and I did PANs and I did Worlds, and I was still a little bit hesitant about, like, people would ask me sometimes, have you thought about doing this full time? And I was like, I mean, I love it, but I don't know that that's really realistic. Like, if I can make money doing that. But I think I just hit a point with it where I realized that, you know, I wouldn't know how good I could be unless I went and trained with the best and put myself in that environment where I was just giving 100% to this life, and to competing and to seeing what I could do. And I knew that if I didn't do that, that I would regret it. And so I decided, you know, I need to go out and try. And I gave myself a year. I was like, okay, I'm going to save up some money. I'll go move to California. And I had some friends out there who, you know, encouraged me to come too, and I had a place to stay. But, yeah, I said, okay, well, the worst that happens is I go out, I run out of money, like, I can't do it, and I have to move back home. And that's the worst that'll happen. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go do it. And it's been 2 years now since I moved to California. And it's been an amazing 2 years. And I've had a lot of successes, and I've had, like, you know, some rough times too, but I'm making it, and I can say right now that I'm making a living doing jiu-jitsu, which is amazing. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, that is cool. And you're there at the headquarters. That's really cool. And what belt are you, and who under?
I'm a black belt, And I got my black belt in January 2nd from Andriod.
Yeah, that is
amazing. And like, I just can't imagine anybody I would rather get my black belt from. It was really a huge honor.
What was that like? Do you remember that day?
Yes. You know, I was very surprised. I was not expecting it because I'd had a good year, but the last tournament I had was the Nogi World. And that tournament was a tournament that I was supposed to win. Like, I felt very confident I was going to win. My jiu-jitsu felt great. Like, I looked at the division. I was like, I can beat all these girls. So I knew I was going to win. And then I didn't win. I won my first match, and I got submitted in my second match, and I ended up getting third place. And I was just really bummed out about that. And not just because, like, it's okay to lose. Losing is a big part of it, but I felt very disappointed with my performance and how I knew I could perform, and I just didn't bring it that day. So I was bummed about that personally. So I was definitely not expecting to get promoted. I was not mentally in a place where I felt like I was anywhere near a promotion. You know, I was still feeling a little down about that. So it was a big surprise. And I was kind of just in a daze the whole rest of the night, like, because he did it before the training, right at the beginning. And I got promoted, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then it was like, it wasn't really real. I didn't really know how to handle it. And so and everybody was super happy for me. And so that was really neat. But then I was just like, yeah, I was in a daze. It took a while for it to sink in that it had happened, because, you know, when you start training, like a jiu-jitsu black belt takes a really long time. When you start training, it seems so far away. And then it happened. I was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this now. But I was also thinking, man, I know the girls that are in my division at black belt, and now I'm in those divisions, and that's like, wow, okay, that's scary, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah, you're doing great. It's I appreciate you sharing that story and that feeling of is this real? And it, like, I think that happens to a lot of people at a lot of different belts, feeling like, you know, even hand a blue belt, or maybe even a white belt with a stripe or something, like, I don't know about this, but you know, my feelings about that is, do you trust the judgment of your coach? And I mean, Andriod Galvo, do you trust the judgment? So yes, and then you just have to rely on that.
I'm not about to tell him he was wrong.
Yeah, good move. And so just, you know, he sees something in you, and I think that's a lot of times with other just grapplers out there. Your coach sees something in you, and that's, you're now at that belt level, regardless of what you feel about that. And it may be the other way. Maybe you think that you deserve a certain belt, and your coach isn't quite ready for you to have that. Maybe they see something else, so trust their judgment again. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that story.
And that is one thing that I've been learning to, even since I moved out here, and just, you know, I tend to doubt myself a lot, and it's hard not to, especially when you're surrounded by so many just amazing athletes. It's hard not to have those days where you feel like, what am I doing here? And I really value the people that I've had in my life who have believed in me, even like my coaches and my training partners, and people who have like given me pep talks on those bad days, and people who believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And that's been so important just on my journey, like to keep pushing me and to keep, you know, like be hard on me when I need it. And also to be like, no, you can do this. Like, we wouldn't lie to you and tell you couldn't do this if we didn't think you could. Like, you can do this. And to have, you know, Angelica tell me that, like, that just means the world. Or to have Andre tell me, like, you're going to be a world champion, you know, that, okay, I believe you. Like, even if I don't feel that way right now, like, if you tell me that, you know more than I do. So that just, that means a lot.
Cool. And yet again, him saying that, it comes from a source of authority. He's seen these people that become world champions time and time again. So and you talk a little bit about that self-doubt. You wrote an article about internal dialogue and why it's so important. Care to expand on that a little bit? Yeah,
this is something that I think about a lot, and I've written about a few times. And I also wrote a blog post on my website. So if you go to NikkiSullivan.com, I think I put it in my Instagram too. But I wrote a blog post about my black belt and what it means to me and kind of the emotional ups and downs I went through over the past several months since getting it. Because it was hard, and it was hard to like feel like I could live up to it and all of that. But yeah, the internal dialogue is really, really important, and it's something that all of us struggle with. And I think the more you're pushing yourself, like the more comfortable you are, the less risks you're taking, the easier it is, right? In your mind. And I think the more you put yourself out there and put yourself in uncomfortable situations and situations where you could lose, and the more you're going to struggle in your mind, and the more important it is to like really have a strong internal dialogue. And what I mean by that is like you can't let yourself start to think negative things about yourself, and you can't, even like maybe I'm not saying it out loud, but sometimes I'll like do something stupid or I'll lose a round, even in training, which is silly. Like it's training. We all know that we shouldn't let a training session get to us, but of course it does, depending on the day. And, maybe I do something and then I'm like, oh, I suck in my mind. And then immediately I start to feel like I suck. And then I start to perform worse because I'm telling myself that negative thing. So I've really found how important it is to really just like, you have to like fight away those thoughts. And anytime, even when I'm laying in bed and thinking something negative, like I can't do this, or you can't let yourself think things like that. So it's almost like I have this mental ping pong paddle or something that I'm like hitting away the thoughts with. And you really have to work at telling yourself positive things on a day-to-day basis. And with your training partners too, you can help each other out because we all understand how it feels. So we all have good days and bad days. One thing I started doing last year was I started coming to the gym, and I would do this especially on a day when I was not feeling great, or like I didn't have a lot in my tank. And I would say out loud, like in the girls' locker room, be like, it's going to be a good day, guys. And I just started saying that more for myself than for anything else, because I didn't feel good about the day. So I needed to tell myself it's going to be a good day. Like I'm here, I'm doing what I love. It's going to be a good day. And so they started saying it too. And we started saying it to each other. Like whenever somebody would come in, you could tell they're tired. Like maybe they had a late night of work or whatever it was. Like, it's going to be a good day, guys. And but it really helped. Yeah. It was encouraging, and be like, no, I like refuse to let this be a bad day. It's going to be a good day. And I'm going to like, no matter what I have to give, I'm going to give 100%, and I'm going to be positive about it. And yeah. That's kind of rambled, but
yeah,
it's
no,
really important.
That's an interesting mental trick, because just by saying something, even if you doubt it, you're working your brain towards thinking that it's true, and and just by it's gonna be a good day, and getting actually affecting the team back there in the locker room, and getting people to say that as well. You're affecting them as well, and I'm sure that some people have that self-doubt. Man, here we go. It's gonna be a rough day of training. No, it's gonna be a good day, and you're just changing that before you even get started. And that way, if it is a little bit of a rough day, so you rank your day from 1 to 10. 1 would be I guess injury, and 10 would be you tap on everybody you roll with or something like that. But if your day's on a little bit on the low side, maybe just thinking it's going to be a good day bumps up a couple of the notches, and helps you smooth out some of your rougher days.
Yep, the things that you let yourself think in your mind really affect you and your energy and everything your whole day. Like you can create a downward spiral, or you can create something that keeps lifting you up. So that's something that I've just realized is really important for me. Are you be really intentional and careful about what I think about? Yeah.
So how do you? Let's just say it is a rough day of training. You go home and you're trying to either relax or get some sleep or whatever you're doing, and it just that thought keeps creeping in. Man, that sucked. Man, how am I trying to do this sort of thing? How do you change that? Do you start? What's the process of that, of attacking that mental framework?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I try to just fight away those thoughts to a certain extent and try to tell myself positive things. And I know intellectually that even if I feel like I suck that day, I know that I don't. So I can like kind of work through that in my mind and be like, I know this isn't true. And it is important too some days to be able to tell yourself, this is how I feel today. And it's okay that I feel sad today. It's okay that like I'm having a not so great day. That's okay, because tomorrow's going to be better. And as long as you can pick yourself back up from that situation, like it's okay to say tomorrow's a new day. Like I'm going to sleep this off, and tomorrow's going to be a new day, and I'm going to attack tomorrow 100%. I think that's okay to do, because we all are going to have tough days. And there are some things that I do also, like I read my Bible and I pray, and that makes a huge difference to me, just even focusing on verses that tell me positive things about, being confident, about being patient, about not losing my hope. Things like that help me a lot. And I play guitar and I sing too, and that's something that really, music can be very uplifting. Music can affect my mood. If I listen to a sad song or an angry song or a happy song, it can very much affect me. So I definitely, will find songs that make me feel really motivated. And that can help. Yeah. And even sometimes movies, like watching like a motivational sports movie or something. I know a lot of people who will do that even before a competition to kind of fire themselves up. And that, there are a lot of little things like that you can do to pick yourself up.
These are great. Music, we've all felt that. Music can definitely affect your mood. If I notice myself being kind of a grumpy guy or whatever, I will, if I remember or think about it, I need to put some music on and change my mood. And it does change things. It's really an amazing thing. The example of the movie, that's really cool. Do you have any top movies that you like to watch to get yourself motivated for athletic endeavors?
I don't always watch movies before athletic endeavors, but I know Remember the Titans is one of my top favorite movies. It just always makes me feel motivated. Yeah, it's such a great story. Anytime, I watch a lot of superhero movies, and those are always kind of just make you feel good and inspiring. And it always has some kind of story of somebody who started, like Captain America. He starts as a scrawny little guy, and then he becomes this amazing leader, superhero character. So stuff like that is always encouraging to see somebody who had to go through struggles and then, make their way through that. Trying to think about anything else. 300 is a good movie,
Yeah, those are good examples, and same thing as the music. It can definitely affect your mood or affect your motivation. And like a simple example that anybody who runs knows, if you're running right now, listen to a podcast like this interview, you're running at this pace. For me, if I'm running and listen to music, I usually run a little bit faster. Yeah. There's nothing I do differently. I don't try to run faster. Music is something that I can run to at a quicker pace.
We even do that in training. So we usually listen to music while we train, not always, but a lot of times we do. And so some days it's fast music with a beat that really gets you pumped up to go. And sometimes even you're dragging and then somebody turns on the music and that beat drops and all of a sudden you feel really energized. And then there are also some days where professor wants us to chill out a little bit and not kill each other. So he'll play some more chill music or some 80s music or something like that because he wants us to have fun. And it's funny how they really are intentional about the music in the gym.
So you're taking jiu-jitsu pretty seriously as a full-time thing, and we've talked about some different stresses. Day to day, you still having fun with it, or does it ever seem like work?
I am having fun with it, and there are days when it seems like work, especially because it is what I'm doing with my life. I do still enjoy it for sure. I think if you talk to anybody who competes at the top level and does a world's camp, by the end of the world's camp, because it's a 9-week camp, it's a pretty long camp. By the end of the camp, most people aren't really having fun, there are days when you hate it. And that's okay, and that's normal, and you're kind of supposed to. And they do a really good job of tapering it so that, the last week of the camp, everybody's just dead. And then the next week, the week like before the competition, it's just really light and chill, and we're having fun. And we're like, Andre actually brought in this guy to run warm-ups one of the last kind of lighter days of comp class before Worlds, and he like had us do a dance. He like led a dance warm-up, and it was just silly and fun, but just lighthearted. So that's like important, I think, to get to the point where you're just killing yourself and it's not even fun, and then to be able to like slow it down and come back to like, okay, this is something we love, we have fun doing, and like mentally we're going to put ourselves in that place before we go compete. So I think it's okay to have days like that where you just don't really enjoy it, and to be able to push yourself through it anyways, because that's like the people who come out on top. Those are the people who mentally are able to push themselves even when they don't feel motivated. But I think I definitely still enjoy it. And for me, being able to take breaks is really important. Being able to travel a little bit, or just take days to go to the beach or whatever it is, to have some balance in my life. That's something that really helps me to keep enjoying it. I just was traveling, and I was in Denver and Philadelphia the past couple weeks. So I just got back to San Diego, and I had a really fun time on the trip, but it was also really good to be gone for a couple weeks and then be really excited to come back. Because now, like, I'm just really excited to see everybody and to train and to be in San Diego and to go to the beach. And so things like that really help you remember how much you appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. So how taking a break, is that, you mentioned traveling, but if you're just feeling burned out, is it like taking a day off or taking a couple days off, or is it changing your meals for a little bit? Like what's a way that you give yourself a break to kind of recover?
Depends. I always take rest days during the week. Like I never train every single day. And even when we have a camp going on, we don't train every single day. We actually train Monday, Tuesday, take Wednesday off, and then train Thursday, Friday. So the days we train are intense, but then we also rest really hard. And I really like that. And sometimes I think it's important to take a longer break, depending on like if you're pushing yourself for a really long time and you're competing a lot, maybe you need a week off, or maybe even like a month off. I think jiu-jitsu is unique in the sports world, and the fact that we don't really have an off season. Like there is kind of after Worlds is a little bit slower, but there are always tournaments happening. So as an athlete, you kind of have to be responsible for your own self and taking a break and taking an off season. I think a lot of people do take a break after Worlds. I went home after Worlds for almost a month, and my mom had a knee surgery, so I helped her out, and I took a complete week off from training. And then I was traveling and training a bit, but I wasn't pressuring myself to train. But if I felt like I wanted to, then I would go train. But if I wasn't feeling it, then I would just rest and do something else, or hang out with a friend. And so I think it's important to have times when you can do that. Like if you have a big competition coming up, then yeah, you kind of have to push yourself to keep going and to train a lot. But if you don't, then it's okay to, take it a little bit easy. I know for me, it's hard. It's really hard for me to take breaks. I've always been somebody who I wanted to push myself, but it's something that I'm getting better at and learning that I want to do this as long as I can. So I really need to take care of myself, not only physically, but mentally as well. And I want to keep enjoying this. So being able to have times when I can take a day or a week off. I actually had Professor Andriod tell me one time that he wanted me to take a week off because he could tell I was burnt out and I was feeling like I needed to keep training, and he was like, you should take a week off. So I did.
So I don't know. Looking at that, do you have any idea what he saw in you that made him say that?
He just saw that I wasn't enjoying it. He saw that I was feeling bummed out. Maybe I wasn't smiling as much. I was training, but I was lethargic. I wasn't performing as well in my roles. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's a very good coach. Angelic is a very good coach. They're very observant. And they want us to succeed. And so they keep an eye on how people are doing, and they'll even like message you outside of training and make sure you're doing okay. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. That's awesome that you have that. And it, being able to take time off, or even your coach to say, hey, take a week off, I think helps for your long-term success, like you're talking about, both mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think people kind of get an automatic, time off. Hey, when you get injured or you have to get, like healed up, we don't realize it, but that's time off, and you come back, you feel great, both mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually hurt my ankle in Abu Dhabi in April, and so I came back and I couldn't train, so I ended up taking about a week off for that, and it ended up being really good because I mentally didn't want to train and I felt really burned out, but if I hadn't been injured, I would have pushed myself to keep training anyways. And so having an injury kind of forced me to, and it was kind of like a relief. It's like, okay, I have a good reason not to train, and I'm just going to rest for a week. And then by the end of that week, I was like really itching to train, and I wanted to be back on the mats. So
yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, that's cool. Like if you could just think of the difference between who's going to get the most of the training session, the person who is dragging themselves into the room, or the person who's excited about it and thinking about it all day. It's pretty clear who's likely to have the better training session. So make yourself that person if at all possible.
Yeah, definitely.
You also talked about yoga for BJJ. Tell us a little bit about that and why you're an advocate for doing yoga.
Yeah, Yoga for BJJ is an online website you can go and subscribe to, and they have trained people. So right now, Sebastian, he's a Jiu Jitsu black belt. He leads most of the yoga. They have different programs. They have like some for beginners, more advanced, and they have specific body part related programs like for your back or for your hips or your neck, things like that. And they have like a yoga for rocks, which is for people who consider themselves very inflexible, and just different things. So there's something for everybody. There are like intense sessions. There are really chill morning sessions where he's just sitting and his baby is sleeping in a cradle next to him. So he's just a black belt teaching yoga specifically to people who train jiu-jitsu. And so he'll talk about in his videos, like, things that tend to like hurt from training and why, and then things that you can do even to warm up for training or to cool down after training. And he'll just talk about why it's important. It's very practical. He explains everything very well. He's funny. So I really enjoy just doing the yoga. And for me, even like I always try to stretch for at least a few minutes after training, because I used to get really bad lower back pain. And then when I started really focusing on stretching my hamstrings and my glutes, it made a huge difference. And I invert a lot, and I do a lot of things that put a lot of impact on my body. So for me, doing stretching and yoga is really important just to take care of my body. So I got involved with them last year, and I just love their site. I love the way they present their information. It's very easy to use. If you want to just do 10 minutes of yoga, you can. If you want to do an hour of yoga, you can do that too. So that works really well for me because I don't always have a lot of time. And it's also something I can just do at home in my living room or wherever I have space, or on the go too. So I really like that. I don't have to go to a class. I don't have to have other people to do it. I try to, my goal is to do that every day. I don't always, but that's my goal, is to do a little bit every day.
Yeah. And, Nikki, we don't all have Andre Galvo teaching us and Angelica teaching us jiu-jitsu every day. And to do jiu-jitsu, you need another person in order to get better. But the good thing about yoga is we can all take a world-class yoga class, basically, like at home or, by yourself. You don't need anything, really. Just that willingness to do it. And same thing with weight training or cardio. I'm sure you have great systems and all that, but there's no excuse for anybody not to obtain that, because that shouldn't be the hard part of jiu-jitsu is getting flexibility and preventing injuries with yoga or strength training or cardiovascular systems. Like that stuff, we know the answer to that. But having Andre or Angelica in the room, that's a different piece of the puzzle that we don't all have access to, or that we, all around the world we don't. But I think people just either lack the motivation to do that or lack the knowledge that how much of a difference it could make.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that we could all do and have really great instruction with as well. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are we going to find if we go to NikkiSullivan.com?
Oh, if you go to NikkiSullivan.com, it is attached to my Facebook and my Instagram.
Okay.
And then it has a blog, and I don't post as regularly on that, but I have a few blog posts that I've made about something that was significant to me. Like, I think I made a post about when I moved to California and just about, everything that I went through with that. And then the post about my black belt was another big one that I made. So I tend to post, I post a lot on my Instagram and I write a lot of articles, but whenever something really major happens in my life, or if there's something I feel really passionate about, I'll make a blog post about that and put it on my website. I think there are links to some videos on there too of matches and highlights that I've made.
Cool. That I like that. I think that most a lot of athletes that I interview don't have a website. I'm glad you do. It's a good way to keep up with you, and it's a centralized location to go and find your social media and that sort of thing as well. So I really applaud you on doing that, and it makes you more accessible to the community as well.
Yeah.
So Nikki, happy to have you on here and learn from you today. You sound like a great competitor and a member of the community. Tell me quickly about your sponsors, and then I also definitely want to hear about you teaching seminars and your availability for that.
Yeah. So my gi sponsor is Roll Dogs Kimonos. They're based out of LA. They're great guys, small, locally owned business, and I love their gis. I love, they've really taken care of me. So I just am big fans of them, obviously. And then Yoga for BJJ is one of my sponsors, and also Ground Shark Coffee. They're based out of Denver, Colorado, and they're Jiu Jitsu practitioners who make coffee, and it's actually coffee that's Jiu Jitsu themed, kind of. So they have a white belt blend and a blue belt blend and so on. They have a blend for every belt, and then they did a signature blend for me this past month, the Cuddles blend coffee, one of their signature black belt blends.
Cool.
And I'm biased, obviously, but I really like it. And
how did that come about? How did you get your own coffee?
I don't know. I've made it. That's the moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna retire now. I have my own coffee. I met them a couple of years ago when I was actually making my road trip out to California. I stopped through Denver on the way, and I did a Fight to Win Pro, and I did a seminar there. And I met Adam Romero, who's one of the guys who owns the company. And then he's always just been supportive of me, whether on social media or anytime I've come out there to do a seminar, he's come and supported me. And then he and his buddy decided to start their own coffee company. And they contacted me, and they're like, hey, we'd like to sponsor you. And they ended up wanting to do some signature blends. So they're like, we want you to be our first black belt. So that was just a big honor for me. And I love coffee. If you follow me at all on social media, you know that. So that was just exciting, even to have people sending me coffee in the mail, but then to have my own signature coffee. It was just really cool. So they had me out last month, and I did a seminar, and we tasted coffee and just had a lot of fun with the coffee. But they put a lot of effort into their craft, and they go to find the just right bean, and they make sure they roast it perfectly, and they test it several times before they put it out there to make sure it's a spectacular product. Wow. So I really appreciate them.
That's cool. and where what's your status for being available to teach seminars and travel and do that sort of thing?
I am very available for seminars. I usually try to put things out there when I'm already going to be traveling, but I'm always, happy to travel anywhere to teach. So if anybody is interested in having me out for a seminar, they are welcome to contact me on social media, or, you know, the email address that's listed on my website too works great. But yeah, just send me a message and we can talk about it. But I love teaching. My degree is in teaching, and I didn't pursue that as far as a classroom teaching career, but it's still something I'm very passionate about. And I love that I have the opportunity to use those skills in jiu-jitsu. And I love to just share my love for jiu-jitsu and the techniques that I like to use with other people. So teaching is something that I love to do. So definitely hit me up if you want to have me out for a seminar or a workshop or private or whatever. I love it.
That's cool. And hopefully, people will do that. I think it'd be a definite value add to any jiu-jitsu school. If they had you out there, you're going to show some really amazing stuff and share that passion that you have. It different people teach different things at seminars, and I've been to a lot of great seminars, but sometimes the person will come in and show a couple cool techniques, and some people will pick those up. But sometimes the person will come in and teach a seminar, and they leave, and everybody's pumped about jiu-jitsu and excited about the possibilities, both of those are great things, and if someone can do both at the same time, that's really cool, and I think that you're definitely a person who would be able to do that.
Thank you.
What's going on in the future? Do you have any big plans coming up?
Oh, that's a good question. So right now, I think the next big tournament would be Masters Worlds in August. And then, it'll be no-gi season, and we have no-gi Pans and no-gi Worlds coming up. Training a lot of no-gi for that. Personally, I might be having a t-shirt coming out soon, and also in the works of possibly coming out with a DVD or a digital download with some of my signature moves. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. That's awesome. And probably the best place would be your website to kind of keep up with you on everything, or get a hold of you if you want to book a seminar. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
Or Instagram. Instagram works really well too.
Nikki, it was great having you on the podcast. Enjoyed you sharing your story and some of your thoughts about jiu-jitsu. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Man, I want to thank Nikki for hopping on the show with me. Super fun to have her. And follow her on social media. Keep up with her. If you're looking to have a seminar, she's available for that sort of thing. Amazing instructor. She's kind of a great mix between high performance and high ability to share and to teach. So great opportunity if you're looking to have somebody come out and teach a seminar. Get a hold of Nikki. I hope to have the opportunity sometime to train with her. That'd be awesome.
Guys, if you like this show, tell a friend, share it through social media, let them know how they can find us, and make sure and come back next week. This is our topic episode. And Byron's chosen the topic of a month's worth of training in one class. So I think he's going to tell you all a secret how you can get really good really fast. So anyway.
Yeah, can you imagine that, Joe? A month's worth of training in one class, and I've experienced this. Joe, have you ever experienced getting a month's worth of improvement in jiu-jitsu in just one class?
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is like a eureka moment or an aha moment.
Yeah.
I have had those, and it's awesome when it happens. And you feel like you're walking on air for the next week, and then you hit that training partner that you use as a yardstick, and they bring you back down to earth. But I have had those moments, and they're awesome.
Yeah, and so we want to try to. You can't do that every day because then it's just your daily training is really accelerated. But we're going to try to find spots and make those happen more often. In your jiu-jitsu career. We do an article this week. It's from the website is Gypsy Girl in a Gi. The article is titled How to Drag Yourself Out of the BJJ Slump. So Gypsy Girl experienced a bit of a slump in jiu-jitsu, kind of I don't know, like happens to a lot of people. Kind of hit that slump, not excited to go train, not going, and you're occupied with other things. That's I've been fortunate to not really experience that in jiu-jitsu. Joe, how about you? Have you seen many slumps or have to deal with that?
Well, I've had my ups and downs. My training schedule's sporadic because of my work schedule, and sometimes I'm off the mat for 5 days or 8 days, and I kind of feel like it's hard to get back in the groove after that sometimes.
Yeah, and so I experience that sometimes when I go on, a vacation or like, man, I'm getting out of shape. So it's good to try to keep up with that. Or if you get injured and you want to take a little bit of time off to get healed up, those are smart things to do, to get healed up. But you have to realize that you're going to get back on the mat and that it's going to be a good thing. So for whatever reason, whether it's motivation or injury or, off the mat life is hitting you, maybe you have like a really busy season at work and maybe you work in retail and around Christmas time, you just don't train much. Don't let that turn into a long-term thing where you miss all of January as well because you were busy in the Christmas season. And she got kind of pushed to just get back in the gym, do a little bit of a kickboxing class or something. Just get back in there and get to moving. And I think that's kind of a good thing to do. And coaches could do that if they see their students are missing a lot of class. Come back in and just get a day with us, and hopefully they'll remember how great the mat could treat them.
Yep. So I think she probably trains at a gym with a great culture because she's got teammates that are, encouraging to come back in. That's a good reason to get involved with your teammates, on a deeper level than just we go wrestle together. But, become friends with them, be invested in their lives, and they'll be invested in yours. And then you'll have that support group, that support when you need it to get back on the mats if you're off.
Yeah. And then this whole topic, it reminds me of something that we don't say probably often enough, especially when you're dealing with somebody who has, made some mistakes or not the biggest mistake, but missed some training, whatever it is. I think it's an important thing to be able to forgive yourself, especially the past you, that person that was last month or last week or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. We all make mistakes. Sometimes I make mistakes constantly, but we all make mistakes, and you need to be able to say, you know what, that was then, and I'm looking to make things better, and I got to forgive that person. That was me last year, or that went to eat a cheeseburger every day of the week last week. Whatever it is, forgive that person. Try not to do it again, but move forward. And so the art of forgiving yourself for your past mistakes is something that makes the rest of your life go maybe a little bit smoother, lets you become a little happier when you're able to do that, because we all make mistakes. And
horrible continuous long-term negative self-talk is just horrible for your performance. You'll never get anywhere, and I know this personally. Everybody knows that if I suck at jiu-jitsu, I can't ever make it to class, I'm out of shape, I suck at jiu-jitsu. If that's your mindset all the time, it's really going to hold you back.
Yeah, and that's okay, Joe. We're working a week ahead here, trying to get kind of bulked up for when I head out on a trip. But you haven't had a chance to listen to the interview with Nikki. But Nikki talked about that exact thing.
Awesome.
Amazing. And both of you said it's true. I know that as well. So if you're feeling negative things. Nikki had the advice of just, you got to change that, whether it's a song or a movie or something to change your mood about that. You got to do that, because those negative things will become real. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know it's getting back in class is that hard first step, but that's where all my negative self-talk goes away. I mean, my mind is just completely clear when I'm in class. So if you're struggling with that negative self-talk, more mat time might be part of the answer. Yeah.
And if your teammates are having that hard time, make sure they have a good role. And it might be, you let them work their game a little bit more than you would, or you give them a little bit more than you usually would. A big part of this is not how that 5 or 10 minutes goes while you're rolling. It's how they feel when they get off the mat, And if Joe's like, man, I'm not feeling it today, but I'm going to show up anyway, and he comes in there and I'm, and Joe, I felt his half guard passing pressure. It's crazy. So I have two choices. I could avoid that at all costs. Try my best to take Joe down and stay on top, and try not to deal with Joe's pressure passing. Or if that's something he's wanting to work on right now, I could put myself there, and Joe could have an awesome roll. I could have an awesome roll. I'm still fighting hard, but it's not where I typically would want to be for the entire roll. But when Joe gets up, he either feels like he had a great roll or feels like he didn't have a great roll. And for any teammate that's having a hard time or has been gone for a little while, you want them to come in and have an enjoyable roll. And it's not like you need to let them walk all over you and do all that. But so long as they're able to have a good, competitive roll and they're able to try a few things, just the opposite. If Joe walked in and some, really good practitioner was there and Joe couldn't do anything. I don't know why I'm saying you instead of me. It's kind of but that's not okay. You come back tomorrow? Yeah, probably. But how many days in a row is that going to happen for you to where it's like, this is kind of sucky? Make it enjoyable for your teammates if at all possible. I guess that's what I'm getting at in a long-winded way.
Very well said, Byron. Yep.
It would have been better said if it wasn't if multiple paragraphs, so it's just a sentence or two, but that's what I'm delivering today. Man, I mentioned his name last week, but Joseph is our newest Patreon supporter, unless we've got one in last week or so. But Joseph, thank you so much for hopping on Patreon, supporting us. And what Patreon is, it's a website that helps content producers, like podcasters. If you listen to many podcasts, you probably hear other people have theirs. Go support them as well. Podcasting isn't super easy, and it can be costly. It's always costly with our time, but there are definite expenses to running a website, publishing a podcast, and that sort of thing. And Joseph's wanting to help us out and help us reach to a more sustainable, successful spot. I'll mail you out 2 5-inch BJJBrick gi patches. You get the old throwback gi patch and the brand new shining, sparkly, high thread count. I don't know what it's called, but it's got a lot more detail in it. It looks really good. And I'll throw a sticker in the envelope. I mail this gi patch sticker combination all over the world, so it doesn't matter where you are. If you're a Patreon supporter, I will mail you that out as a token of our appreciation and a way you could show your support on your gi if you like. Some people put them in their cars. Some people do other things with them. Gary's getting ready to get that tattoo. If you want a tattoo, I will send you the high resolution image. But reconsider getting the BjjBrick tattoo, please. Anyway, you're also invited to join the private Facebook group. I forgot to say it last week, and I'll forget many times. But if you're a current Patreon supporter, like you've been for before we had the new patch, and you're just not hearing this, I want you to have the new patch. Just send me an email. Hey, Byron, I've been a Patreon supporter, and I want the new patch. And send me your current address, because if your address has changed, I want to mail it to the person who moved in. They probably don't listen, and it would go nowhere. But send me your current address on the email that's saying that you would like the updated gi patch, and I'll mail it right out to you guys. I want all the Patreon supporters to have have both gi patches. So that's something that you'll like it when you get it. So why not send me your current address and just ask for it if you're the Patreon supporters that haven't received it yet. So if I forget that, I remember this week, so that's good. But email address, I should tell you that. BJJBrick@gmail.com. That's where you'll send that to. Or any questions you have for us. Joe, we got a big episode next week, man. A lot of pressure.
I'm so glad Gary's going to be here.
Yep. So we'll get back to the Three Musketeers or Three Amigos or Three Blind Mice. What else? Three Stooges. There's a lot of options.
You're getting more accurate the further down the list you get.
But we'll tell you. We'll share our experiences with it. We'll share how we try to make it happen more often, and make you. Every class may not be a month worth of training, but if you can get 1.5 classes out of one class, just increase the amount you're able to learn and get out of each class, and occasionally hit that big moment in class. That's amazing feeling. If you haven't experienced it yet, we'll hope you get there. So stay sweaty, my friends.
Don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, We'll see you on the mat. Get better. You got to get better. And we'll see you on the mats, guys.
Yep.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.